Burlington Beer Works began as a homebrew club on my back patio. In 2009, I had moved in with a fellow roommate, and he had brewed beer back in college, and he wanted to get back into it. And we'd get together every other Sunday on our back patio. We'd invite friends over. We'd brew a different batch of beer, and we'd have conversations about what was happening in the city and the fact that there wasn't a brewery in town. And I studied entrepreneurship, so immediately my mind goes to how do we make a business plan? How do we figure out how to bring a brewery into the community? But that project was really about community revitalization, about building a new vision for downtown and engaging more members of our community. And in that conversation with the community, we started to interact with the city council. And we realized that there wasn't the same vision, or the vision was disconnected between the city council and what people wanted in Burlington. There wasn't a conversation happening within local government about what people needed, what people were thinking about, and where the community needed to go. And so in 2013, when I filed to run, it was because of my experience, but we didn't have a platform that said, here's X, Y, and Z of what we want to do. We just knew that something needed to happen around this community vision. And I called up another Elon friend and said, what have I just gotten myself into? And what's the best way to approach it? And he said, go knock on doors. Go do a grassroots campaign, because that's the purest form of politics, and that's how you'll really understand the community. And as a outsider who hadn't grown up here, that was an amazing opportunity to really learn our neighborhood, block by block, door by door, all across Burlington. We'd have these incredible conversations from that, where I'd ask them, well, when was the last time you had a mayor knock on your door, or even a candidate? And they never had. And so it's this realization that, like, age doesn't matter in the situation. It's really, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to do with representation? And that would then open the door to these amazing conversations about the history of the community, why somebody came here, what they love, what they're struggling with. And those narratives became our platform, became our campaign. There was a lot of skepticism about would I actually show back up? Because people had had these interactions to a degree before, and City Hall would come in, they'd ask the opinion, and then they would just shelve the ideas. People would see no action on it for decades. But come 2014, I was back knocking on the doors, chatting with them, and we were able to tell the story about how we had started to make progress on the public transportation conversation, how we were able to start making changes in the community, even though I hadn't been elected. I would always try to have a touch point back to what is this policy going to do for Thelma, who moved here as an 80-year-old, shortly thereafter lost her husband, and was struggling to find community connection and support. What was it going to mean for Ryan, who had to bike 10 miles every day to work before we had a transit system? And after we had transit, he could spend more time with his kids in the morning because he knew that he had a dedicated way to get to work, rain or shine. So when thinking about tangible things that I have that remind me of the work we've done, so much of my work has been interactions and narrative and story. In looking over my shelf, I found this morning, and it's a rock, painted rock, actually from the Village Project at Elon from 2019. But it says, don't give up. And I remember getting this from a child. I was out at an event at a park, and I was talking about what it means to be a leader. And the idea that you don't have to be an expert, that you can just live in your community, and that we need that type of leadership. And that child had just found this, that they walked up to me and they said, I want you to have my rock, because your struggle to keep walking, to keep reaching out to the community, you need this to remind you. Should our local government be involved in telling stories? Our council has generally said no. Leave that to the library. Leave that to the African American Cultural History Center. Leave that to Elon. Leave that to other folks. We do the streets, we do the water, we do the police and fire. And I think that's wrong. As long as we exist, we're going to preserve our history. And we're going to make sure it's there, and that these narratives get told, not just archived back in a closet, but that actually get presented. And that doesn't mean that we have to do the presenting, but we have to be the sustainer that keeps it in the daylight.